Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back to the Moon Juice Horror Metal Podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but aren't afraid to shit on both of them. I'm Matt.
Hi, I'm Mike.
Okay, cool. So I didn't fuck it up. You looked at me like I fucked it up. I had to go back through my head. I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
did
I say something wrong?
You said metal and horror podcast. You said horror and metal podcast. You switched metal and horror.
Wait, I thought I said metal horror podcast. Oh, well, whatever. Mike and I have our established schedule of movies that we want to do, but every once in a while one comes along that we feel like probably needs to be done. One, because we really fucking love the movie and we'd like to get to it before somebody else does. Two, because we're click whores. So the scene has changed a lot for horror movies, right? So we did one series before, and that was the Alien series that came out. This one's not a series, but it was a Netflix movie, right? And so every once in a while, Netflix puts something out and it doesn't hit the theaters, which in a lot of cases makes sense, right? Like there's some movies Netflix puts out where I'm like, yeah, that was a good film. Not really sure I would have gone and seen it in the theater. This one, on the other hand, as I was watching it, I was like, well, that is a movie that should have been in the theater. That was excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. No.
I'm not sure if they did themselves any favors by putting it on Netflix.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good question. I also think that this movie should have definitely been in the theaters. Taking it directly to stream is kind of odd, but
yeah.
I mean, who knows why they did that? I mean, it was produced by Netflix. That was probably the main reason. But still, yeah, because a lot of the Netflix movies that are produced, let's say there are certain things that are in the movies. I'm just going to say it, diversity. I was really surprised.
I'm not laughing because that's a bad thing. I'm just laughing because you brought it up.
I'm bringing it up straight up to begin with. Mike can hate for this. Just to be clear, I have no issue with diversity and all this kind of stuff. I don't really care about much when I watch these things. I was because it's made by Netflix. I was genuinely surprised that the ethnicity of the people was the same way it was in the books. And I'm surprised that
I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Netflix has a habit of doing stuff like that, as does any streaming service, really. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that it feels very shoehorned in, right?
Yes.
Especially where it doesn't belong.
Often when you bring that subject up, it's understood like, yeah, you don't like this kind of stuff. No, I diversity is something in movies, video games, or whatever I don't really care about. I just personally think if the show and the movie is good, other people aren't going to care about it either. The only time when these things, when people complain about these things is when the show, movie, or video game already is bad. Because all of these diversity things, no matter what you want to call, are not going to make anything bad. But they're going to make an already bad story worse. I mean, there's a reason why people complain about this shit in Rings of Power. House of the Dragon, nobody gave a shit. People were going on about the diversity in Dragon Age the Veilguard. Baldur's Gate 3, for example, 2 fantasy RPGs. Baldur's Gate 3 had 10 times the amount of all of that diversity in it. Nobody cared.
No, because it didn't feel shoehorned in.
Exactly. So, yeah, but I think we went a little bit off the rails with that.
No, it's okay. It's a good topic.
Yeah.
It's a good topic for a lot of reasons. So it's tough, right? It's tough to make movies and series that everyone is going to like. And a lot of times, if you don't do the diversity thing, if you don't try to shove different people in there, then a certain group of people are going to hate it and blackball it, right? But what you don't want to do, and I think the biggest mistake these companies make, whether it's video games, series, movies, is shove it in there where it doesn't belong and put a light on it. Like, that's the worst thing you can do. Just let it be part of the story. Don't make a big deal out of it. If you're trying to get a certain audience to engage with things, that's a good way to do it, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think not that it was a very good movie, but the Dark Tower series, Stephen King, is one of the most beloved book series that exists, right?
Yeah,
and so they wanted to do a movie adaptation of it. And Roland in the book is a white cowboy, right? But because the actor himself basically could do the character so well, they cast a black actor. They cast Idris Elba. And I remember initially when that hit and people realized that, everybody was freaking out, right? Everybody's like, what the fuck? Roland is a white cowboy, blah, 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 blah. And then you watch the movie was not great, right? I don't think it did well at all. But the casting of him, once you see him play the character, nobody gave a shit after that. Nobody cared because he does such a great job of doing Roland. And it was because they didn't make a thing out of it. And that's honestly how you do it.
Yes.
Netflix has a habit of shoehorning in diversity every chance they get. This did not do it at all. And thank God, because it would have made no sense in the context of this movie at all. None. Aside from that, I couldn't find, me and Mike talked a little bit before the podcast started about things in this movie that didn't really work with the original source material, but quite honestly, it's done so well that it doesn't really change the core of the story.
No, not at all. I mean, it's also a thing you can say when it comes to adaptations of books. There's always something that's going to be off. I mean, even in the original Lord of the Rings movies, there's a lot that's off in that movie. There's a lot that was left out. There's a lot of things that are portrayed entirely differently than they were in the books. Nobody cares, and it's not a big deal because the vibe, the core essence of the story is intact. And there's a reason why Lord of the Rings is seen as one of the best book adaptations ever, by the way. For a very long time, those were 3 books that the entire movie industry thought could not be adapted into a movie correctly.
Right.
Yeah, and this is also a movie where everybody knows this story, and there have been countless adaptations of this book, also different variations where it was an inspiration for other stories, and characters of this book were taken into different stories. But there was never any adaptation that really felt accurate to the book, in my opinion.
Right.
None.
Yeah, no, I've seen them all too, because this story is one of my favorites. It's near and dear to my heart just because of what it is. But yeah, there has not been a movie adaptation that stuck close enough to the story to really do the story any justice. And I think this is the first time. I think, Mike, that the credit for that goes directly to the director, though.
Yes.
Del Toro.
Yeah.
Del Toro. Holy shit. I cannot think of one movie that this guy has done that I did not absolutely love. I mean, seriously, let's look at it. You got, I don't know if you saw Devil's Backbone, but Devil's Backbone, Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes. Brilliant movie. Brilliant.
Holy shit. Like the guy has a catalog of amazing films. He's got an eye for horror specifically. He's got an eye for tension, and he's got an eye for just overall story and how to make everything work and fit and be emotional and all that stuff. Yeah. Guillermo del Toro is a master of this kind of stuff, and I'm so thankful that they got him to do this. But what movie are we doing today, Mike?
2025 from Netflix. And we were talking about being a Netflix movie made by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
Now, I can also think of any movie this guy has done.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I didn't like. Yeah.
He has a way of taking. I don't know what this is or how you would even explain this or what it's called, but he'll take a movie that is very light in tone, right? And this is probably what he's really, really good at. He'll take a movie that's light in tone, that has a serious subject matter, and then out of nowhere, there'll be gore. This guy is the king of that. I think with Pan's Labyrinth, I went into that movie not knowing anything about it. I just kind of saw it on a whim. And the first thing I noticed is that the cinematography was beautiful. It was really well filmed. The characters were great, but it seemed like a kid's film, right? At first, it seemed like a kid's film.
It was just a fantasy movie.
Yeah, it was a fantasy movie. And then out of nowhere, a guy gets his face smashed in by a bottle, and everybody that was in the theater was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you don't see it coming. You don't see the gore coming. It just happens. And that's what he does with this, too. Like, this monster is by far, other than the book, the most OP version of Frankenstein we've seen so far. Is that fair?
Nah.
No?
No, I mean, Van Helsing, the Frankenstein monster from Van Helsing, Matt. I mean, come on.
Yeah, fair. But the Van Helsing movie, that was a Frankenstein, the monster, right? But that didn't really fit the whole story at all. I can barely count that one. one. That was almost like a comic book movie, you know?
Yeah, it is. Van Helsing was a comic book movie. No? Yeah, but true. I mean, it is definitely the most OP version of the Frankenstein creature.
Yeah.
Even though it's not actually in the book, it's never referred to as the Frankenstein monster. It's always referred to as the creature.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those things that even I slip up on because everybody wants to call him Frankenstein. That's just become normal to call
Yeah.
the monster Frankenstein. It was never called Frankenstein. It's Frankenstein's monster or the creature. Yeah,
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 exactly. Yeah.
yeah. But this version of this monster from the very get-go start of this movie, when we start getting into it, wastes no time juggernauting through everything in his path. He is a gigantic monster.
Yeah.
The movie opens up the same way the book does, right? There's no real change in how the story is told, the method by which we get the story of both characters. It's all exactly like the book.
Yeah.
And this is the best. I mean, the movie by far is the best version of the Frankenstein monster in the story I've seen so far. But this opening is the closest to the book that you're ever going to get. This is exactly how it
Yes,
happened,
true.
right?
It's also, I never
Yeah.
remember any movie doing the opening of the story the same way it did it in the book. Not just like this one. No.
Yeah.
And but before we get into the movie, I'd like to go over the cast.
Yeah.
And of course, if you like our podcast, don't forget to follow us on Spotify. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like this video, give us a comment, and subscribe to our channel to be updated on all further videos. So we already talked
Yep.
about the director, so I don't have to mention him. One thing I noticed are there are two very well-known Game of Thrones characters in this. There's Leopold Frankenstein. He plays, I think, one of the Stark guys or whatever. Charles Dance
Yep.
is the actor who plays him. Then we have the blind old man
Yep.
that later on becomes one of the only friends the creature ever has. David Bradley. He played in Game of Thrones, even though I'm not sure if he was in the first season, but I remember these two actors.
Yeah.
We have Jacob Elordi that plays the creature, probably the most attractive Frankenstein monster you have ever seen.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, if you look at this guy, obviously, I mean, he's a good-looking guy. So, okay. However, you have Mia Goth that plays Elizabeth Lavenza, Oscar Isaac. I have to be honest. I have no issue with this actor, but specifically because of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I usually am instantly turned off when I see this actor in anything.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
It's not a ding on his acting chops at all. Like the guy is actually a really good.
I mean, he's a great actor, and I'm not saying anything. I know nothing about the guy personally, and I'm not saying anything about his skills, but I mean his acting skills. But it's just when I see characters or actors that have played characters in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I'm automatically disinterested in watching it.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you on that. I see his face, and the only thing I can think of in that, oh, Dameron. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's just why it's a big. Even I would say I've seen the remake of Dune, only the first one, and I remember seeing his face in the trailer, and that's the reason why I didn't go to see it in the movies. Not necessarily because I did not feel any hate towards it or whatever. It's just I don't know. It's just like what's the actress that played Rey? Daisy Ridley. I think that's her name. Nothing against the actress.
Yeah, Daisy Ridley, same thing.
Just Daisy Ridley. When I see characters from the sequel trilogy, I am just automatically disinterested because they were.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Those movies fucking hated them, and so I do the same thing. Like if I see Daisy Ridley or I see Oscar Isaac or any of those guys in another movie, I automatically am reminded of the sequel trilogy, and I'm just like, no. But that's not their fault. That's the thing with movies and actors. You have to be really careful what movie you jump into and how that's going to sell you as an actor, a character actor, right?
Yeah.
Harrison Ford got really lucky because he was a carpenter, and because he happened to be doing a job for Steven Spielberg was like, oh, hey, this guy's great. He might be your Han Solo, and got in touch with George Lucas, and George Lucas was like, yeah, okay. Thankfully, when he did that, that movie was super fucking popular and everybody loved it. So then he became Han Solo for all the other movies, and he became Indiana Jones, and he had a great career. If you get into a movie that becomes popular for the wrong reasons, you are stuck, and everybody will associate you with that movie. And that's what happened to Oscar Isaac.
It depends on how you treat it, because if you look at Sydney Sweeney, Matt, no.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, let's say, for example, the big Hollywood movie she starred in was a major flop, Madame Web. I watched the movie. It was fine, but she absolutely went out of this, profited from it. What did she do in interviews? She started trashing it, making fun of it, and saying how awful it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one way you can do it. However,
I mean, these guys from the Star Wars sequel trilogy didn't do anything different. Like, they all were very vocal about how they didn't like the movie either, but it still stuck with them.
Yeah. I don't remember Daisy Ridley or Oscar Isaac saying anything about it. Just I remember, because it's talked about like how toxic the fans are. The last thing I remember is that one interview, Daisy Ridley said that she never really got that much hate from fans. That is one thing I remember. I don't remember anything other that Oscar Isaac actually said about it. He might have said a thing or two about the Star Wars movies, but I don't really know. And I'm going to be honest, I also do not really.
He did. No, I don't care either. It didn't change the fact that I associate him immediately with Poe Dameron, though. He also did another series, which I'm not sure if you saw it, was actually really good. It was called Moon Knight, and it's a Marvel. It's a Marvel series, and he did a really, really good job on that. And so he's kind of been clawing his way out of it. Another movie he did really good on was he played Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse, but he's wearing so much damn makeup, you can barely even tell it's him.
I know. He played
Apocalypse,
I think.
Apocalypse, yeah.
Apocalypse, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did a great job by the rule. Just the movie itself was But, okay. We have Christopher Waltz, who plays Heinrich Hallander, and Felix Kammerer. Oh, God. Felix Kammerer. But pronouncing the words in German. That plays...
You're just reading everything in German now, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like crazy because, that's the thing when it comes to the character names, is because the majority of them are all in German. So I have the tendency, even when I speak English, when I see German words or names, I pronounce them in German.
It's okay. I do it too. I don't really know any other way to do it now. Like, if I see a German actor or somebody like that, I'm not going to pronounce their name the way Americans would. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like when I go home and I'm talking to my mom about different countries we went to, I don't really say the English version of the city or the country. I'll be like, yeah, we went to Zurich, and she's like, what? Zurich, Zurich. Sorry, it's just a habit you get into. But anyway, I digress. We have to get into the movie, or else we're just going to be talking about all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
So the opening of this movie is done brilliantly, and it actually opens up with the script that you see in the book too. So, and it's written. It says it takes place in the furthermost north. And you get this landscape of frozen ice that they kind of fly over, and they lead up to a Danish ship that is stuck in the ice, right? And these guys have their entire crew outside of the ship trying to dig themselves out of the ice. The captain, who I cannot remember the actor's name, Mike, and I can't remember if you mentioned his name, but he's the guy who plays T-1000 in Terminator 2.
No.
Is the captain.
No.
That's not him?
No. That is
looks
not
just like him.
Robert Patrick. Absolutely not.
It's not?
That is totally...
Who is that? Who plays the captain? I do not know how he came
up with that. That is not Robert Patrick. Huh? The actor's name, he's the one... Wait, show more? I mean, okay, now, let me see. Nope. His name is Lars Mikkelsen. That's the guy.
He's actually Danish guy. Okay. His facial features look a lot like the other guy.
He's an actual Danish actor, but that is totally not Robert Patrick. Absolutely not. You would be right if we were talking about Peacemaker, but not this.
Yeah. Okay, so that's not him. Okay. I always get those two actors confused because they look very similar, but okay.
Nah.
Yeah, to me, I don't know.
They look nothing alike, in my opinion, but okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, whatever. I thought that was him. Anyway, this guy's a great actor. I will say that.
Yes, absolutely.
He plays the captain of a ship that is stuck in the ice, and he has his entire crew out there. They're all digging, trying to get the ship out of the ice. The first mate comes up to him and says, "Hey, the men are tired. The morale's low. We need to do something. Can we give him a break?" And he's like, "No, we're going to go into double shifts trying to pull this thing out of the ice because we have to get out of here." And so the first mate's, "Okay, guys, we're going to keep digging. We got to get this thing out of the ice. The morale is extremely low here." We shift to nighttime, and the first mate brings the captain up on the deck, and he says, "Hey, off in the distance, there's a fire. Take a look through the binoculars." So the captain looks through the binoculars, and you can see that there's a fire set up on the ice. It's about I'd say 400 meters, 500 meters ahead of the ship.
Yeah.
So obviously that means someone else is there. Captain says, okay, get the men. We're going to send out a party to go see what this is. Right. And so they send the party out to go out to where the fire is burning, and they find a body. Right. And it's a body of a man who obviously wanted to be there because he's completely dressed up in warm clothes. But this was obviously like a tent and like a whole camping setup that is now completely obliterated. Like it's destroyed. And the only thing that's left there is the fire. When they find the guy, this guy is Victor Frankenstein. And they say, okay, it looks like he's got a broken leg. So one of the guys tries to go down and reset the guy's leg so that they can get him up. But that's when they find out that the leg is a prosthetic. So this guy's missing a leg. So now they're going to have to cart him back. When they start to pick him up, they notice that over the hill, there's a shadow of something creeping up behind it that's very, very large. And I think these men probably think it's a polar bear. I would assume.
Yeah. No, they even say
because that's what I would.
Nope.
They say that.
Yeah, they come up, and I remember what they're saying is some of the other men tell the captain that the dogs are unharmed, but there's a lot of blood. So we can see that the creature did not harm the dogs. No, the first question the captain has was this a bear? No, so they automatically assumed it was attacked by a polar bear. No, yeah. Then, then happens basically what you basically said. Then they hear the roar of the creature.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
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 And the roar, from what I remember, is not something that you would associate with a human either. So they did a good job of making you think it's probably a monster.
Yeah.
And then we get probably one of the most epic scenes in this film. And this is filmed so brilliantly. I fucking love this. The men rush Victor Frankenstein back to the ship. They hoist him up on a bed into the ship. And then in the distance, you see this thing coming, right? And it's obviously human form, but this thing looks gigantic. This is a juggernaut of a monster that is basically what you would assume is like a berserker, right? Just covered in animal fur, just like running full force at the ship. These guys already have their guns out because the captain was like, hey, take guns on the hunting party to go see what this is. He tells them, okay, get down and prepare to fire. So they're loading their muskets as this thing is coming at them. And then he tells them to fire. They fire. And I think there's like 5 dudes. There's like 5 dudes that fire on this guy at one time. They hit him. He kneels down on the ground, shakes it off, gets back up, and keeps coming. They fire again, same thing. It barely phases him, and he keeps coming. And when he gets there to where these guys are, it's like it's like the Juggernaut from the army from the Marvel series, right? He's just picking dudes up and throwing them around like they're rag dolls. It's brilliant. This whole scene is brilliantly filmed.
He's like full-grown guys, grabs them and throws them. I don't know, like it feels like 6 meters through the air. No?
Yeah.
But also you clearly see, and then you have like the other guys just dropping their guns and running, because they're fucking terrified of this thing.
Yeah.
No? But what's also interesting is they always only that you can see it straight up to begin with that the creature does not just go at them blindly, that he only attacks the ones that are shooting at him. Because you can see like there are multiple guys that, back off and the creature just walks past them. Just basically ignores them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to be something that we see throughout this movie too. And this was one of those changes that was made to the book for this film that I don't necessarily think is a bad change. They really try their best to humanize this monster, and I think that was probably for the best. There's a lot of that in the book too. They humanize him as best they can, but this series or this movie does a much better job of it.
Yeah, even though the creature in the book was very humanized by Mary Shelley. And straight up to begin with, before we get further into it, when I read the book, I always saw Victor Frankenstein, in my opinion, as the actual villain in the story.
Yeah.
In the book and in this one. I mean, it's kind of a thing everybody that knows the Frankenstein book, just like we had in our discussion before, the creature in the book was very vengeful. He wanted revenge on Frankenstein. Because he went to Frankenstein and told him, if you're not going to create a companion for me, I'm going to kill everybody you love.
Yeah.
And that's what the creature does. The creature goes after every single person that Victor Frankenstein cares about.
Loves.
No?
Right.
Yeah. What in this story is differently, no?
Yeah. This creature is much more reaction based, and I actually like that better than the book. I don't know if we're gonna get hate for that, but I honestly like this better. In the book, like you said, he's full of vengeance. He wants revenge, so he kills everyone that means something to Victor. In this film, he only kills people that are attacking him. And that goes for animals as well. There's a scene here where a bunch of wolves, and I don't think he would have harmed the wolves at all either if they weren't trying to attack him and his friend. He's not an evil, terrible monster. He's misunderstood and is new to this world, obviously, because the creature did not retain any of the memories of the brain that he was given. And I think that was also a thing in the book. Didn't really have any memories of the past. There were things that came back to him, but he didn't know what they were, and they were lost memories of whatever brain he received. But there was just little glimpses of that. He doesn't know anything about this world. And at this point, we're seeing at the beginning of the movie, this is years after he was created because now he can talk. Because one of the only things that he does as he's attacking these men and they're shooting him is he's saying, "Give me Victor. I want Victor. Bring him to me." That's all he's saying. And these guys are trying to get him
to me.
Yeah. Yeah. They're trying to get him the fuck away from the ship. They realize that their muskets aren't doing anything to him and he's shaking them off. So one guy goes back into the captain's quarters. I think it might actually be the captain.
Yeah.
Goes back in the captain's quarters and gets this really rudimentary early shotgun, right? Which I kind of had to go look this up. I don't know what this thing is called, but this weapon did exist at this time. They were just very rare. And it is a gigantic quadruple barreled shotgun. And it's on kind of a Gatling device, so it turns.
Yeah.
He shoots the monster three times with that thing once the monster's on the ship, and the monster falls off the ship and into the ice, right? And when he falls off the ship, that's enough to piss this guy off enough to tilt the ship. So he goes to the bottom of the ship and starts to turn it, and you see this huge ship start to turn on its side, right? So this monster is fucking OP as fuck.
Yeah.
This is not the first time we see him move a ship either. Like later in the movie, we see something else that's pretty unbelievable. But he's got enough strength to tilt this ship on its side to where people are falling off the ship and it's almost horizontal, kipped on the ice. He lets go of the ship and it comes back. When it does that, a piece of the ice that's stuck on the bottom of the ship falls out from underneath the monster, and the monster goes into the water and disappears. And so they're aware that they can't kill this thing with guns, but for right now, they think that they've killed it. The captain goes back into his quarters where Victor is, and he says, "Hey, danger's gone. I think we've killed it. No big deal." Victor immediately is like, "No, that is not dead. You can't kill it. It will be back for us. We have to get out of here." Right? And so the captain is kind of at a point where he doesn't believe his own eyes. He doesn't know what's going on, and he wants more answers before he tells his men to start panickingly digging out this ship so that they can get out of it. So with that, Victor decides, okay, if you need to know what's going on, I'll tell you what's going on. And this is where we start to get Victor's story, right? So Victor starts to tell him his story, and we get a glimpse back into Victor's childhood, right? This guy did not have the best upbringing.
Yeah, his father
Let's put it that way. Yeah. Yeah, his dad's a complete dick. They were an aristocratic family that lived in France. His father was basically, what would you call this guy? Like a traveling surgeon, I would assume is what you would call his dad. I think he's a traveling surgeon, a renowned traveling surgeon. And he's obsessed with having Victor specifically learn science and learn everything about the human bodies. He figures if my son does well and you go out there and you impress the world with your skills, then basically my name lives on. So he's very, very serious about trying to get Victor to learn everything that he knows. And his mother, which by the way, Mike, I didn't know this until after I looked up the actors, Mia Goth, who I really like. We didn't really go into her, the actress. She plays his mother and she plays the wife of his brother later. So this is actually her playing the mother as well, but she's got so much makeup on you can't tell.
I did not notice.
Crazy,
that.
right?
I did not notice that. That's actually both Mia Goth. Okay, cool.
I didn't either. Both of them are Mia Goth. I didn't know it till I looked it up afterwards, but now that I'm looking at it, her eyes kind of give it away that it's her. But the makeup is fantastic. You can't tell they're the same person. So you meet his mother, who the whole family have been home in this castle alone while the father's been out traveling the world doing whatever he's doing. The father comes back. This actor who plays the father, can't remember his name, also an awesome actor. He played in all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He was the, what's his name? Davy Jones.
Nope. You're wrong about
the captain of the other ship, the guy with the tentacle face. I'm wrong. Fuck.
No,
Who is that?
you're wrong about that one too.
That's not him?
No, that's
Fuck.
totally not him.
Okay, who is
The
this
one-
guy?
You mean the one that plays? I even
Dude.
mentioned him. The one that plays Victor Frankenstein.
No, he's Game of Thrones. He's in Game of
This
Thrones.
is also a very. He's played in multiple things. He's played a Game of Thrones. He was in Underworld. He was in a Dracula
Underworld,
movie.
that's what I'm
He
thinking of.
played the movie Dracula Untold. Great Dracula movie. I loved it.
Yeah.
OP version of Dracula.
Yeah, was
He
good.
plays the vampire that creates Dracula, and the actor talking about is Charles Dance that plays Leopold Frankenstein.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like this guy a lot. I get those two confused, but he played the father. Yeah, he played the father of the dwarf in Game of Thrones, and he was the most evil fucking character in that show. Right? He doesn't really do anything different here. This guy is a real fucking asshole. Like he's
this guy
extremely serious. He doesn't really care about his family at all. Yeah. Very stern, doesn't give a shit about his family, doesn't give a shit about his wife. The only thing he cares about is his legacy. So we get him teaching Victor, going through medical books, learning about different parts of the body, learning about organs, and he's having Victor repeat back what the names of these organs are, specifically the heart. What are the different parts of the heart? What are the names of them? When he gets one of them wrong, he makes Victor stand up, and Victor sticks out his hand, because what they would do back then, and you know this from like other series where they would show nuns in like Catholic school smacking kids' hands when they got an answer wrong. He puts out his hand for his dad to smack his hand, and his father says, "No, you're too old for that now. We're not going to smack your hand anymore. You'll remember it better if I hit you in the face." So he smacks him in the face with this wand that he has and puts this big mark on his face, which this is some fucking brutal shit for a kid, dude.
Yeah.
I think I would run away. I would fucking run away.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's just this is Stone Age. I mean, parody.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to get away with this shit nowadays, thank God. His mom.
Unnecessary. Yeah.
Yeah. His mom is pregnant right now with his brother, and she basically spends her days with him when he's not learning things from his dad. She goes into labor, and there's a whole scene where she's trying, for whatever reason, to get Victor to hide her away from the father for whatever reason, even though she's having the baby right now. Eventually, the father comes up, takes her, and they go to the hospital. But she dies in childbirth with his brother. And then we get the scene of her being carried out and placed in a grave, which this is a really fucking interesting way to do it. I can't find anything online that this is the way that people were buried back then, but it looks cool as shit, right? They've got this sarcophagus that's kind of like hand chiseled stone that looks like a blanket. And then you have the person's face. The first person's face is at the top, and it's stuffed in all these flowers and roses and stuff. So you actually see the dead person's face. And then the face is covered up with kind of a stone chiseled version of their face, and then they're buried in the mausoleum. Looks really cool. I can't help but think that Del Toro probably came up with that on his own, because this is kind of his style.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It looks really cool.
It's not historically accurate, but it looks cool.
Then we flash to the scene where we see his brother grown up a little bit. His brother's probably like 3 in this scene, but it's obvious that his father is now more interested in his brother than he is in Victor. And Victor says that himself. He says, "My father took a liking to my brother and kind of started feeling like my brother was going to be his legacy. So he took him under his wing and basically just kind of forgot about me." Right. So this kid had a double whammy, and this is something that you don't really see in the book. This is the reason why he does what he does later. So he took his mother's death very, very, very seriously. And I hate to say this, but this is kind of like the Darth Vader story. It is, because his mother dies. Nobody has the power to save her, even though, you know, his father is a world-renowned surgeon. He says, "Sorry, when the heart stops, there's no way to stop this kind of thing. When they're dead, they're dead." Victor doesn't take that very well, and we get the idea that his journey into adulthood is him trying to figure out how to get people to live forever, right? This also leads into a major change for the Frankenstein story, because, correct me if I'm wrong, the monster in the book was not immortal, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, he wasn't immortal as far as I know. Yeah. I don't remember exactly, but I don't think that the monster was immortal. I don't think so.
No. This monster has regenerative powers. Like, he gets shot and wounds heal up. He gets a cut on his face, the cut heals up. It leaves a scar, but he has basically got like a Wolverine healing factor, which I thought was interesting.
Well, but also the healing factor vampires and werewolves have.
Yeah, yeah. He's basically immortal. Like there's no way to kill this guy. So technically, Victor succeeds in what he wanted to do by creating this monster. Just like Darth Vader, he wanted to find a way to keep everyone from dying because his mother dying was so traumatic for him. And that's what we get. So you get that whole scene where he says, my dad didn't care about me anymore and basically wanted to take my brother under his wing. And I just wanted to figure out how to keep people from dying. Now we flash forward to the present day where the story is being told and the monster has broken out of the ice about 700 meters in front of the ship. Right. And he turns around and looks back at the ship. The look at this monster, this is the first time we actually get to see his face. You see it from the nose up, and you notice that he's got one eye that's completely dead. It has no color in it. It almost looks like a wolf's eye, right? So if light goes into it, then it kind of reflects back, which I thought is a really cool look for this monster. Like, this is very, very well done. And so Victor kind of continues his story, but also says again to the captain, hey, we really don't have a whole lot of time. This thing is going to come back for me, and it's not going to stop. It wants me dead. But continues telling his story anyway. Flash forward to one of the coolest scenes in this movie again. Victor is in front of a panel of other doctors. At this point, Victor is already a well-known doctor in the field of life science, basically. And he's explaining to everyone in the room what death actually is, or what he believes death is, what birth is, how life can be created. You get the feeling that everybody in this room kind of thinks he's a little bit of a psychopath, which I think I would probably think that too. Because he's talking about things that are just medically impossible. But what he does, and you have to remember, a lot of people are just stupid, Mike. Like, there's some people that wrote online, like, I don't think any of the stuff in this movie is possible. This is ridiculous. It's hard to watch because these things don't actually happen. Yeah, no shit, dude. It's Frankenstein. It's the story of Frankenstein. None of this shit is possible. It's a horror movie.
It's fiction. No shit, dumbass.
But that was actually a criticism.
No, I'm sorry. No, these people are fucking morons. It's just like when you see these fucking arguments under a fucking fantasy movie. You can see these fucking arguments under Lord of the Rings, under The Witcher or whatever. And this shit is all ridiculous. These elves and dwarves and magic and that's not possible. No shit. Or I'm sorry. No,
you're absolutely right.
No. I mean, of course. I mean, I understand. I know a lot of people that don't like fiction specifically for that reason. They only watch stuff or movies, shows, or whatever if it's stuff that could actually happen in reality. Personally, I think that means you're not a very creative person, in my opinion. But the criticism itself is completely fucking moronic. Criticism like that should not be taken seriously. People who make that criticism, I'm sorry, are complete fucking idiots. One of the main issues you have now with science fiction and fantasy, one of the number one issues is a lot of the fucking writers are taking these people seriously.
I know. It ruins it. We're in an age of mass communication.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to go on a rant now. Game of Thrones, The Expanse. The most people I see liking this shit, they don't even like fantasy. One of the main reasons why they like it is, well, it's actually realistic. You fucking moron. But if you make fantasy realistic, it stops being fantasy. People come in like, why does it have to be that way? Why the fuck do you think the genre is called fantasy? Next thing, if you take science fiction and make it more realistic, it stops becoming science fiction. And this is something that bothers me in modern science fiction and modern fantasy. Not all of it. These criticisms will only be applied to these two genres to bring up how ridiculous and fucking stupid this criticism is. I'm going to apply it now to other genres. Okay? Why don't we start making comedies that aren't funny? Because these movies are all funny. That makes no sense to me. Why are all these movies funny? Okay, another funny one. Why don't we start making porn where everybody wears clothes and nobody's having sex? Because there are way too much movies in this genre where people are just screwing each other's brains out for 2 hours. That's ridiculous. We should make porn without sex.
You're right. I mean, it's almost pointless to bring it up, but I think there's a whole discussion there to be had about movies that have existed in the past and about choices that were made in movies that you didn't hear the criticism because we weren't in an age of mass criticism. So if somebody hated a movie, you couldn't just go online and be like, I think this movie sucks and this is why. So you didn't have to hear everybody's opinion. Now anything comes out. And by the way, movies and shows back then didn't have to react to any of that stuff. All they had to look at was the numbers of the people that were
how
watching
much
it, and that
people
was good
watched
enough
it.
for them. Now, instead of looking at the numbers, we have to make everybody happy. So you take every single criticism that's online to heart.
No, I say no. That is the biggest mistake.
That's what I'm saying. It's a huge mistake, and I don't know why we do that.
No, because they think you have to make everybody happy. They think to have something have a wide audience, it has to appeal to everyone. What is stupid? Because if you make a story appeal to everyone, you make a story that appeals to no one. Because every single story ever told, the person writing the story had a specific view of what the story was supposed to be. And unintentionally, the story was meant for a specific group of people. Of course, there are sometimes people that are not in that group that like it as too, obviously. But this nonsense where you have to that the main issue is modern movies and shows are being made without a specific demographic in mind. They're trying to make everything for everybody. They're trying to make everything in a way that it's not offensive to anyone. That inherently makes movies that appeal to no one. I mean, good example, very, very prime example of this is Dragon Age: The Veilguard. You've probably definitely
Yeah.
I played some of the other Dragon Age games. I think Dragon Age Inquisition was a great game, by the way. Loved it. The main issue of this game is the way it was designed, the way the art was designed, all appealed to a very, 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 very small portion of the player base. And that in itself is fine. But what happened at the end of the day is that it did not appeal to 98% of the players. And what happened? It only sold around 2 million games. Every other video game that came in that series before in the last 20 years sold 10 to 13 million. And this one only sold 2 million.
Yeah.
And why?
That's what happened.
Because they tried to make a video game for everyone. And what happened? They made a game that only appealed to a small fraction of the actual player base. And that is the main issue with modern storytelling, with modern movies, video games, and shows. It's not the diversity stuff they're putting into it. It's not the social and political messaging they're putting into it. It's just they're doing these things because they think that they have to do this to appeal to what people are talking about in society. The main thing they lost out on what appeals, what kind of stories, what kind of art, what kind of whatever in the story appeals to the majority of the audience. That is what they lost. And that is why the most of these things failed or are failing.
Yeah. I don't think that things should be taken so serious, especially after something comes out like this, right? So I saw this, and we may be going off on a tangent, but I think it's important to talk about just like you do. So if you are watching fiction and something happens that is not true to the real world, let it go. You're watching fiction. And then on top of that, nobody that was part of that production or that video game or whatever should have any comment to say back to that person who makes that asinine comment. But I shit you not, Mike, if you go online and you look at the comments about this, the first comments that pop up on everything is there's things in this movie that don't make any sense and it's ridiculous and I don't know why anybody would watch this because it's impossible. And it's specifically this scene that's coming up right now. Right, so he's talking to a round room of young surgeons, and he himself is a surgeon that has a theory about life. And there's this kind of mutilated human body that's been rigged up to, or at least the torso of a human body that's been rigged up to electricity. At this time, it is true that this is when we understood that electricity and electrical impulses had a reactive factor on human tissue. This was well known. What he's saying is that with enough electricity put in the right spots, you can reanimate dead bodies, right? Not true, right? But that doesn't matter. This is fantasy. This was a book. And the major criticism here is that this is not true to science. No shit. Why don't we just delete those comments? Because they have no place. You know what I mean? I don't get it. Why are we taking stupid people seriously? It bothers the shit out of me. Because if you wanted to see this show, and you're one of those people who likes to go read comments about how the show was, the first 20 that you're going to see are asinine comments about how bad it is because it's not true to life. It's fucking Frankenstein, dude. Of course it's not true to life. What the fuck? I don't get it. And I might also add, this scene right here is fucking brilliant. It's really fucking well done. And not only is it well done from the aspect of just looking cool, it is all practical effects.
Yes.
All practical effects. So there is green screen because someone has to operate this thing as it moves, but it's done so seamlessly that you're completely in it. Like nothing in this part takes you out of it, and it's done brilliantly and creepily. Best scene I've seen in a Frankenstein movie so far in terms of like shock and awe on the audience, because this body that he hooks up to electrical impulses starts to move and breathe and all these crazy things, and it looks really morbid. Right? It's really morbid and kind of macabre. And the doctors that are standing in front of him, who are the older doctors, are like, no, this is against God. This is not right. And all you're doing is a parlor trick, and you're hooking up dead tissue to electrical impulses. This proves nothing. And Victor goes, are you sure? And he's got an apple in his hand, right? And he throws it at the body that's moving, and the body grabs the apple. And the whole place just goes silent. They're like, what the fuck? So this thing not only can move, but it actually can react to outside stimuli. And so this is kind of an epiphany for everybody there. However, the doctors that are sitting in the front row also think that this is a parlor trick and that Victor is somehow using black magic because the church ruled over everything at this time, and anything that was, a scientific breakthrough could have been considered a witchcraft.
Black magic, yeah.
And so that's why everybody's mad at him, right?
Yeah, but even though they're not entirely wrong. I mean, any sane person is like, even if it's possible, it's something that shouldn't be.
Yeah. And I mean, there's an argument for that. Maybe some things should not be messed with, right? Even in modern science. And we have that with cloning technology. We have that with stem cell research. There are things that science doesn't want to touch because supposedly it goes against God. And that is a reoccurring theme.
This is also something what the majority of scientists are trying to use it for. You could annihilate half of the fucking diseases we have on this planet, specifically through this type of technology. What is being slowed down extremely by religion. And this is something I'm going to bring up. I don't really have a high opinion of people that come with moral arguments, because moral arguments are subjective. It's not that I'm not that kind of person that says morally gray, there's not good and evil. Yes, there is good. But I always argue with ethics and ethical, because ethics is the scientific measurement of morality. Moral in itself cannot objectively depict what's good or evil, because good and evil, when it comes to moral, is based on the subjective opinion and worldview of what other person. But ethics can clearly analyze and say good or evil. It can say malicious intent or not. That is the difference. I do think as a society, we should lay more value on ethics and ethical decisions than moral ones, in my opinion.
Right.
What also would apply
I agree.
to the story.
Absolutely. The only problem with that, and this is a deeper conversation that I love having. I'm not sure everybody's going to want to hear it, but the problem is morality is shock and awe, right? And you can do a lot with shock and awe. You can get people to believe what is morally correct or what is not morally correct just by shocking them with something. And the church, unfortunately, is very good at that kind of thing. I hate to say it. They also have a say, whether people like it or not, about how much money is put into what kind of scientific study is happening, where the money goes, what should be funded, what shouldn't be funded. The Catholic Church has more money than the rest of the world. So they have a say in what type of scientific breakthroughs happen in the future and what doesn't. And that delays science, and it delays the betterment of the human race and all that kind of thing. But that's a different conversation altogether. But what this part of the story is trying to say is Victor wanted to do something new. He wanted to do something different. He wanted to further the human species and say, hey, if we are able to do this, we can stop people from dying, right? But because he's using dead human material to do this, it's a shock and awe thing. And everybody stamps their foot and clutches their pearls and is like, no, this is against God. We can't do this. And so this is the major thing that he is fighting now. So he's not going to get funding and research from any scientific group, any school, anyone for this kind of thing, because it is a macabre thing that supposedly is against God. So he has to get his money to do this from somewhere else. And he gets that now. Yeah. Because one of the people that is attending this thing is Dr. Heinrich, whose last name I can't remember right now.
Heinrich. Good
Heinrich is
Finder.
his first name. Heinrich,
Der
but I don't remember
gute
his last name.
Heinrich, ne? Heinrich Harlander.
Yeah,
Might
Heinrich
be
Highlander.
spelled
So
wrong.
he
Yeah.
uh,
Harlander, I think usually, but with the A with the
Highlander?
2 parts. No, but it's not spelled that way. It's Harlander. Harlander.
Highlander. Highlander. This character is played by Christoph Waltz, and
Yes.
thank God, because I fucking love this guy. I cannot sing this actor's praises enough. Every role he steps into is brilliant. One, because he's a linguist. Two, because he's also a master's in cultural studies. He understands how people from different countries act. He understands how they relate to other people from different countries and what that country believes in, all that stuff. He's just a master of this kind of thing. So whenever you put him into a role of a foreigner, he does really, really well. Inglourious Bastards is a good example of that. Just really, really, really like the actor. And he plays an Austrian this time around, which he actually is Austrian. So this is right where he needs to be.
Yeah.
And he's an interesting character. We don't really know what his motivations are at this point. When he shows up, he obviously takes a very keen interest in what Victor is doing and wants to help him for whatever reason. But Heinrich has a very good understanding of the human nervous system, right? And his entire adult life as a doctor has been studying the human circulatory system and the nerves that make everything work. Victor doesn't really have a great understanding of this. He has a very rudimentary understanding of it. And so what this character does is he shows up at Victor's house and says, "Hey, no, actually, I think Victor goes to his house because he's invited," right?
First, he shows up at Victor's house and he invites Victor to his house. Then Victor goes
Right.
to his house, and then then discussions happen that you basically said. He also informs Victor that he is the
Right.
uncle of the woman of his brother's fiance.
Right. So in this discussion that they have at his house, he brings out this board that's a human size board. It's good, like 6.5 feet. And on this board is the human central nervous system laid out to where you can see every connecting piece of it and where it connects to certain organs in the body. And this is what Victor doesn't really have an understanding of. So he explains it to him and he says, "Hey, the heart is the key. This is where the heart is. And these are the nerves that go to the heart. And this is how you would do this. So this could be something that you could use." There's a major motivation here that this character has. We don't know what it is yet, other than he really, really wants to help Victor out. Right. Yeah. And so there's a bit of a revelation here that there's something that Victor has not been using in his work that he could use, but of course does not have the money for it because nobody's going to fund his research. And that's where this guy comes in. Victor's brother comes to visit and he brings his wife with him. And there's a discussion that's had at the table between him and his brother and his wife. And I can't remember exactly what happens in the exchange, but she says something that provokes him, but I don't remember what it was. Do you?
It was more a discussion between the brothers of their parents or whatever, because clearly, even though it appears to at least that they have a quite good relationship, William has a different view on their father than Victor did for obvious reasons. And there's a kind of thing going on. There's also discussion that I don't remember her name. Mia, I'm going to call her Mia Goth. I can remember the actress's name, but not the character.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mia Goth has a short back and forth with Frankenstein. And this is also something that instantly, to me at least, makes Victor Frankenstein unsympathetic because he instantly, starts hitting on her. And it's like,
of course.
One, you know me, I don't like that when people hit on people if they're taken. I think that's a shitty behavior. And I'm going to be honest, I think people like that in society should be shamed. No, I do not think that is any characteristic people should strive towards. But what makes it specifically bad, this is your brother's fiance, you fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, like, come on. That's like, sorry. But somebody that does that, they have no moral compass. If you do that. You don't in any kind of a way. I mean,
especially your brother. I mean, you could argue that he has kind of a vendetta against his brother. Like, he does not like his brother, and that is obvious. He feels like his brother kind of took his place and therefore does not like him. And to see his brother with this woman who is beautiful and intelligent bothers him. So I think that's initially why he began hitting on her. But yeah, it is a really shitty thing to do. She also has a very different view about his work and what he's doing than he does. She calls him a fool.
What he is. Well, he's more than a fool, though.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. She says something about soldiers dying and men basically sending them to their death and blah, blah, blah. And then this is what happens when ideas are pursued by fools. And he says, and you think I'm a fool? And she says, run to your brandy and cigars. The boys are waiting. Basically, she basically calls him a fool. And he doesn't like that because I don't think this guy gets much opposition from too many people, especially not women. So that pissed him off a little bit. But Mia Goth's character in this is brilliant. And I know why they got her for this role, because this actress has this uncanny ability to not have any emotion. That's what Mia Goth does. She either has too much and so much emotion that it's overwhelming in scenes. Like, I don't know if you saw Pearl or X, those two movies she was in that got her start. They're horror movies, so she's a horror movie actress. But she has this deadpan, almost dead fish look on her face. Like, she has no emotion whatsoever. And she's very matter of fact. And I like her character in this, and I like every role she's played so far.
Yeah.
She's really good at what she does. So yeah, he hits on her and finds her interesting, right? And so that kind of establishes the chemistry going on between those characters. Next thing we're flashing forward back to the ship in present time, and the men are hungry, they're freezing, the ship still hasn't moved. On top of that, they know that this monster is still out there, and he's kind of standing on the ice, maybe 600 meters away from the ship, just staring at them. And everybody can see him. So they're just like, what is this thing doing? When is this thing going to attack again? The captain comes out, sees him, says, damn it, he's coming. He's just standing out there right now. Goes back to Victor and says, okay, he's there. They've spotted him. Tell me more of your story, because he wants to hear the rest of it, right? And so Victor continues the story. What we're seeing now is Heinrich has basically offered to fund all of his research. So whatever he wanted to do to continue this research to try to reanimate dead bodies or figure out the secret of life, this guy is all about it. I keep wanting to call him Hans Landa, which was his character in Inglourious Bastards. But that role just sticks in my head because it's fucking amazing job that he did. Hans Landa. Well, I think it's Landa. I think it's Landa, if I remember correctly. You might have to look it up. But that last name is curiously similar to his name in this show too, which is interesting.
Not even his Hans Landa. Hans Landa.
Hans Landa. Okay. So Christopher Waltz's character has decided to.
There's another character, no? Bridget.
Oh yeah, that's the woman.
Diana.
That's the woman.
Yeah. I just thought the name looked funny.
It is. It is. I love German names for that reason. Yeah. So Heinrich has decided to fund everything that this guy does, and he says, hey, he doesn't say this is kind of one of those things that we're just meant to assume. There is a castle in Germany, and we know it's Germany just because of the countryside and specifically the setting in which we see the castle in. So just for some background, in case this is your first episode and you guys don't know this, me and Mike work at the actual Frankenstein castle. Not right this second because it is under reconstruction. But we have worked at that castle for the past almost, 9 years now?
10. It's my 10th year.
10.
This year was my 10th year there.
This year was your 10th year. So, and this is where me and Mike met, strangely enough, is at this castle. So they do a Halloween thing once a year that lasts for about 2.5 weeks. And it's probably the most elaborate haunted house, haunted castle thing you'll ever go to. It's full contact. Right now, it's been shut down and moved to Castle Königstein because the castle's under construction. I say all that to say, me and Mike are very familiar intimately with the actual Frankenstein castle.
Yeah, very intimately.
The castle that you see in this movie is not the Frankenstein castle because it is placed directly on the Rhine River. Yeah, nothing like it.
Yeah. It's nothing like it. For one, it's like the Frankenstein castle is on a big hill surrounded by a forest. And you can see it from afar already, the Frankenstein castle. And I would say this castle is extremely near a river, and the Frankenstein castle is not. The actual Frankenstein castle is on this big hill surrounded by a forest, and there are multiple villages on the foot of the hill where the castle is on. There is one big tower that goes up, no? Or two? There's two.
There's two, yeah.
But it looks nothing like this.
No. And not even so basically now it's a ruin, right? But they do have historical. They do.
Yeah. Also, when you said it's placed near the Rhine, the river, wrong river. It's in an entirely different state.
Wrong river. Yeah.
It's the Main.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, that's a small thing.
It's the Main River, yeah. But even so, from the top of the castle, like you and me have been to the towers on this ruin. Even from the towers, you cannot see a river. Like you're too far from it to even see it.
No.
So
you can see
the liberties.
You can see from on the top. I think you can see Darmstadt, Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And I'm not Hanau. No, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You can see. I'm not. You can't see Aschaffenburg.
Hanau, yeah, you can see Hanau from there.
Hanau. I'm not.
No, Aschaffenburg's too far to see.
Aschaffenburg is too far, but Hanau, Darmstadt, and Frankfurt, those cities you can see.
Yeah. And it's cool. I mean, it's a ruin, which would make sense because in the story, as we'll find out, it becomes a ruin by the end of the story as well. But there are a lot of liberties taken as to how this thing looks, where its placement is, and all that stuff, which for me was a little bit disconcerting because it is an actual landmark. It is a real place, and they did not use that at all in this movie. But whatever, I'll let that go. It is, however, a very elaborate set, and something that Del Toro said for this movie, as is with many of his movies, he does not want CGI. He wants to use CGI when CGI has to be used to make something work, but otherwise he wants real sets, real set design, and real locations. So everything that you see in these scenes inside the castle, Mike, are actual sets. None of it's CGI, and it's beautiful. Like this set, the set design on this is incredible. And I would think a lot of the budget went to the set design because this is a full castle that looks very old, carved out of stone. There's elaborate windows and all this crazy stuff. And in the middle of the floor of this castle is a huge hole that goes from the center of the castle going down to a well at the bottom of the castle all the way up to the top of the castle. And it's just really fucking cool. Right. And so he's been granted this castle to work in by Heinrich, and they're going to continue his work there. Heinrich has said that he's going to fund everything he needs. So the next few scenes we get are them sourcing the materials for everything that they need, right? A lot of it's silver because he doesn't want to use anything but silver. I can't remember what the reason for that was. It definitely wasn't because it's a good conductor, but whatever. Everything has to be made out of silver. So they're sourcing silver from everywhere to make the pieces of the machine to bring his work to life. And there's a scene where they go into a city or a village, which I can only assume is Darmstadt, like we were talking about before we started the podcast. I think this is Darmstadt. There's nowhere in Darmstadt that looks like this, but whatever. They go to a place where there are people being executed. So there's like a hangman's tower in the town. And it's kind of a funny scene because together they're going through the people who are about to be hanged to say, okay, he has a feature I like, he has a feature I like, and this guy has good eyes. So we want these three bodies once you're done hanging them.
Yeah.
Whatever, which I don't think happened in the book, but it doesn't matter. This is used for comic effect, and I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So they've selected the bodies of the people that they want to use for the first experiment, and they get those bodies at the castle. We get a quick scene where Victor notices that his brother's wife, played by Mia Goth, is walking through the city by herself, and he's kind of following her, right? And so he gets the bright idea to go into the church where she's about to go and do confessions because everybody's Catholic. She's going into the Catholic church to do confessions, and he kind of wants to know more about her. So what he does is he hides himself in the confessional booth as the priest or as the bishop or whoever takes confession. And she supposedly doesn't know he's there, and she knocks on the confessional booth. He opens the inside and asks her, hey, what do you have to confess? And she says, he says, is it lust? Because he's hoping that she's lusting after him, but she's not. She says, no, hatred. I have to confess I've hated. And Victor, acting as the priest behind the booth, is like, hated who? And she's like, the brother of my fiance. He's a terrible, horrible man, and I don't like him, and I hate him, and blah, 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 blah. He's like kind of disgusted by the fact that she doesn't like him, and he takes it personally, and you can kind of tell. And then she lets on that she knows it's him, and she didn't really mean it. She's like, I know it's you in there. Come on out. So he's like, oh, okay. So he comes out, and then they go out to eat somewhere in the town and have a further discussion about his work and about everything that he's doing. I can't remember what the conversation's about. Do you remember?
Me neither. It's not really that important to the story because what basically the different scenes you see now from this point on is basically scenes of Victor Frankenstein spending time with Mia Goth and them getting basically more or less everything built up in the castle and his laboratory or whatever. His brother, by the way, is helping. This is basically the majority of the scenes go on between that. There's one scene where he also dances with Mia, and Victor Frankenstein says, like, yeah, this is the first time he was more interested in life than in death. Then there are a few things going back and forth. What also just shows, sorry, I do not like Victor Frankenstein. I did not like him in the original story, and I don't like him in this one either. What just shows that they actually put Victor Frankenstein very accurately how he was in the book.
Yeah.
I would say to a certain degree he was worse in the book than here.
He was worse in the
this
book.
Movie. Yeah. But yeah, there are also scenes where he says like to his brother, yeah, you have to stay here and get this and this done. You're the only one I trust. And then he goes off and spends time with Mia, his brother's fiance, which shows God damn. I mean, of course, nothing ever happens between him and Mia because Mia is not interested in Victor.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, yeah, she's just spending time with him. Either she just sees him as a friend or it's the brother of her fiance, but she's never really interested in Victor. No, but also the entire thing.
No, she shrugs off all of his advances.
Yeah, and also the next thing is I don't know. You never really know in the story if she actually tells William. Probably not, but however, she still says she still stays faithful to her fiance. No,
yeah.
However, but this plot pretty much goes nowhere actually. But that's all that happens in this.
It doesn't. It's just kind of there to show what kind of a shitty person he was.
Exactly. Until the story continues with in his workshop where you have like the other dead people he had set up, and he had like this one dead person pretty much on a table with his back open and needle stuck into it or whatever. And this is where Victor did not really have the breakthrough on how he could actually reanimate anything. So why he was not actually putting the corpse together and everything until I think, I'm not sure how, but he comes up because he takes the needle and puts it in one area. And then that actually reanimates the full on corpse. And that's kind of where he has his breakthrough. I think also shortly before that, Mia is in his laboratory, sees the things he's done, and is quite interested by it because she's interested in biology. That I think we came across watching the movie was what Mia was interested in Victor, is just his work in general that she was interested in, not really in him as a person. To me, it just came across as she was a guy. He was just some guy she knew. He was the brother of her fiance. That's actually how she just acted towards him.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I think after Victor Frankenstein has his breakthrough on how he can, that is when you actually see him start to collecting the body parts that he wants to use to assemble the creature.
This is kind of the scene where everything starts to go a little bit south, honestly, because they need more bodies than they originally assumed that they were going to need, because you get the idea that a lot of experimenting was going on with the bodies they did receive. Yep. Of course, bodies decay over time, so there's a shelf life for a body that you're experimenting on. They were not able to get the breakthrough with the bodies that they had. Fortunately, there is a war that just ended, and the battlefield is just strewn full of bodies, right? And so this is perfect timing. So him and his partner go to one of the battlefields where there's just a shit ton of bodies laying around, and they go through every one of them trying to figure out which one of them and how many of them they can actually use where the parts are still usable. Because this is in the middle of the winter, the bodies are frozen, which everybody knows if you freeze something, the decay is much, much slower. So these are basically a field full of fresh bodies that they can use, right? And so that's what they're doing. They go to the field, they collect bodies, they take them back to the castle. There's this cool scene inside the castle where it's just full of bodies that have all thawed. It's a bunch of dead bodies. And all I can think of in this scene, Mike, is how that place must smell. It's got to stink, dude. It's got to be like one of the worst smells you've ever smelled.
I mean, all of that decay and everything going on. I mean, to be honest, the smell in that room would make most people vomit. And I do think it would be that bad that it would cause the most people to vomit and maybe even lose consciousness. That's how bad. Yeah.
It's bad.
To the point where you can say the air might even be toxic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrible, dude. Like, and it's for me and you, probably not a difficult scene to watch, but for anybody else watching the next like 10 minutes of this film is a little bit of a rough watch because what he's doing now is creating his monster, right? So we get something that I do not remember in the book, and I don't think they went into this much detail, but he's selecting pieces from everybody that are perfect. And these are hundreds of bodies. So we get this cool scene of him cutting heads off, cutting legs off, taking eyes out, taking lungs out from all these dead bodies, and then resituating them into another body. And this is done in great detail, like all the way down to the tendons. You see him fitting bone back into a leg and then fitting the tendons in there and stapling them down. And it's just a really grody scene, right? But it's cool because we've never seen this done in another Frankenstein film. So I love this. I love this scene. Of course, with all this cutting and all of this replacement of dead bodies and body parts, you have a lot of severed limbs and heads and pieces of bodies laying around this castle. So at one point, as he's walking through the castle where all these bodies are, the blood is probably like 2 to 3 inches thick on the floor. And he's just trudging through it, like all this blood. And he's bagging bodies up in burlap sacks, taking them downstairs to where the well is in the castle, which leads out to kind of overflow areas in the castle where the water streams out back into the Rhine River, which explains why they put this castle on the Rhine in the show, because he had to have somewhere to throw the bodies. So he's taking all the bodies down in burlap sacks and throwing them out of the castle into the Rhine River, and eventually gets rid of all the body parts. So the only thing now he has left is the body of this monster he's created, and he's hoisting it up because it's kind of on a cross, right? He's laid it down to where its arms are splayed out, kind of in a crucifix style. Downwards, he's got machinery attached to the back of the cross that's hooked up to these 2 gigantic, I would call them Tesla coils, but they're not. These are like gigantic batteries, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is what they look like, which is interesting because before in every other version they're Tesla coils, but these are gigantic lit up batteries that take up almost the entire room downstairs in the castle.
Mm-hmm.
He hoists up the creature. We see how big this thing is for the first time. This is a good 6'3", perfectly proportioned monster of a man that it is pretty scary looking, but you don't see its face. So it's set up and it's prepared to be hoisted up to the very top to where it's going to get the lightning from, the things that they've set up. There's several devices at the top that are needles that have a mechanism on them that open up when they get to the top. And these things look like they were super fucking expensive, but they're the things that draw the electricity from the lightning, sending them down to the batteries and into the monster. And they've set these up, right? Only one more has to go back up to the top and get put in, and he hasn't done that yet. Victor's friend, Heinrich, that is paying for all this stuff, is in the back of the castle. So he goes to Heinrich to say, hey, I need your help placing a few things. Would you help me? And this is where we realize that Heinrich actually wears a wig and is starting to fall apart because he has syphilis, right?
Yeah.
And if you know anything about syphilis, they kind of go through a short explanation of what's going on with Heinrich, but he's in the later stages of the disease to where the disease has basically wrecked his entire body. It's infected his brain. It's infected everything about him. So basically, there's nothing about his body that can be reused, right? Yeah. And Victor says, why did you not tell me that you had this disease and that you were dying and all this stuff? And Heinrich explains, well, I figured that if I supported your research and I funded everything that you want to do here and gave you a way to further your research, that you would respect my wishes and take my brain and put my brain into this creature so that I can live longer. This is also not something that was in the book, but it's actually brilliant to throw it in here because it works in the story really well.
Yeah.
Now there's kind of a thing here that I don't really understand, but I can kind of overlook it. This guy is also a doctor who understands the nervous system and understands everything about the human body, but he did not understand for whatever reason that his brain was not going to be usable in this creature because the disease has affected it. Right. So Victor has to explain to him, hey, look, I understand what you want, and I'm not saying that it wouldn't work if you were completely healthy. Unfortunately, the disease has ravaged your body. It's ravaged your brain. There's nothing about you that I can use in this monster. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe if you had told me ahead of time, I could have told you that that was not going to work. But Heinrich is not happy about it. And Victor says, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to use your brain because it's unusable. Heinrich gets upset and tries to take one of these devices that they have to put into the machine to get it to work. And he takes it away and says, no, I'm not going to let you continue with this process unless you respect my wishes and use my brain in this creature. Victor wrestles the thing out of his hands, but at the same time, they're at the top of the castle looking at this hole that goes down through the rest of the castle, right? And when he wrestles this thing out of Heinrich's hands, Heinrich slips and falls through the hole and falls all the way down to the castle, bashing his entire body against the floor at the bottom. He's dead as a doornail at this point. Right. Also, from since this is coming from Del Toro, I figured that was going to be much more of a splatter, but it wasn't. I was kind of hoping there'd be a lot of gore in that scene, but there wasn't. He just hits the ground and he's obviously dead. That's the last thing we see of Heinrich. Victor, being the, kind of uncaring, insensitive jerk that he is, doesn't really think that much about this and decides to go on with the process because there's a storm over the castle right now and he knows he's going to be able to catch lightning at this point. So he starts the machine, but the lightning hits the top of the needle, goes down into the batteries that are in the castle, and shocks the monster, doing the whole process that we see in the book that's so famous. Another thing that they've added here that I noticed is that the monster himself has a battery in the middle of his chest, which almost resembles Tony Stark from Marvel, right? This one battery that this one battery that he has in the middle of his chest basically powers his heart. And this is the last time we're going to see that battery. I'm guessing, I don't know what they do with it. Maybe he puts it inside of his chest or whatever, but we don't see that part. Clearly a battery on the front of his chest that powers the monster. The lightning strikes the monster. The storm's gone. Victor runs over to the body, but there doesn't appear to be any life whatsoever. Like, it's not moving. He puts his head to its chest to try to see if he can hear a heartbeat. Does not hear a heartbeat. Slams his fist against the monster's chest a few times to try to get it to wake up. Nothing happens. Victor feels like this was all for naught because it looks like this is a process that can only happen once anyway. Yeah. So he thinks it failed. Goes back to his room and passes out, upset with life, basically. Has another nightmare, which we didn't mention this earlier, but he has visions and nightmares of a kind of like an angel that tells him what his life's work is supposed to be, what he's supposed to be doing. And he has another vision of this angel when he goes back and lays in his bed. And the angel this time takes off its face to reveal kind of a skull underneath. And it makes a motion like, you've succeeded, right? So basically, he has this dream and he wakes up the next morning to the monster standing in front of his bed, right? This thing looks really cool. This is like the first version of the Frankenstein monster that I've seen that basically looks like a patchwork quilt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he actually looked like he was assembled from multiple different bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And is just standing there, looking at him. This is where, like Victor Frankenstein, it worked all of a sudden, and tries to communicate with the creature, but the creature can't speak at this moment or whatever. He basically, it mimics Victor's behaviors and everything. Victor's, awesome, it worked. He opens up the curtains where comes the sunlight, and the creature's instantly scared by it, because it doesn't know what sunlight is. Now Victor teaches him like, oh no, it's fine, everything. And then he kind of like, Victor, I'm Victor, and then the creature looks at him like and repeats his name, Victor.
Says Victor.
And this is then he takes it down into the basement. The creature steps in water and is surprised. Water is like, oh yeah, water and all of that. The creature blindly trusts him, goes out Victor Frankenstein, and Victor Frankenstein just chains him up.
Yeah, this pisses me off.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, for the beginning, it's like, okay, you do not know what this creature is going to turn out to be. You know nothing about it. So in the beginning, it's like, okay, maybe. But this is just what makes it bothered me to a certain degree. And also, no, not to a certain degree. It totally bothered me because you can see clearly how this creature was acting like a toddler or like a puppy dog. That's how this creature was acting.
Yeah.
It says, no, I'll be back, and then leaves. No? So, I mean, anybody with any common sense would notice how this creature is acting. It's acting like a puppy dog or a toddler. And he keeps on going, because this is where you see the scenes between Victor Frankenstein and the creature. Victor Frankenstein now he goes up to, after he chained the creature in the basement, up to the stairs, and is now like, yeah, I succeeded, it worked out. But this is now where he has his regrets if actually it was right what he did. Because now after he achieved it, he felt nothing. He did not feel any satisfaction or anything or whatever, that he figured out how to fear death. He only had like this kind of feeling like he shouldn't have done it instantly. But yeah. Then it goes on to, I remember Victor Frankenstein saying like, yeah, these are multiple weeks and he's showing no actual sign of intelligence, no speech, whatever. And this is just, I don't know, it just makes you, the things happening now make you dislike Victor Frankenstein more and more and more. No? Because how should I say
well,
it?
I mean, it's
Victor Frankenstein.
it's irritating.
It's irritating. Victor Frankenstein knew, he said this multiple times, that the creature is probably not going to have anything of the people it was created from. So he knew that. So you technically have to see this creature as just being born, and you have to treat it as if it was a toddler. And it takes years for people to learn how to speak, obviously. When do the most people start speaking? Around 3, 4? I don't know.
3 coherent sentences, around 3. Sometimes a little bit earlier, but that's only if their development is faster than others.
Exactly.
He
He
spends no time with this creature trying to do anything with it. He's just automatically disappointed, and that bothers the shit out of me.
Yeah, me too. The onny thing
because this thing also shows no sign of violence.
No sign of violence, no sign of malicious intent, no sign of everything. It just blindly trusts Victor, and Victor is shaving its head and everything while it's looking at himself, and Victor's like, yeah, that's you. Like a dog that hasn't seen its reflection yet. The monster takes a knife and pushes itself. Victor tries to get him to let the knife go, but can't because the monster is insanely fucking strong. The creature lets the knife fall.
Yes.
And wants to take it and put it into Victor Frankenstein's face until Frankenstein flips out at the creature and tells them, "Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" It just it's God.
It's annoying because this is the thing, and I feel like they did this on purpose. He has no patience with this creature. He doesn't seem to understand that it's a brand new being and doesn't know anything about the world around it. He starts becoming increasingly agitated with it and mean to it, which it makes you hate him even more because he basically slaps the monster around and pokes it in its head and says, you're useless and you're stupid and you're not learning anything. And this is probably his biggest mistake because he should have treated this thing kindly. He should have been patient with it and he should have treated it like a human, but he doesn't see it as a human. He sees it as a experiment.
As it only refers to it as.
And that's his biggest mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, because
go ahead.
I mean, as it was in the books, book, you can see that the creature itself was not evil. It had no evil nature or anything. It was just an entirely new being. And as it was in the book, the creature did not really show malicious intent to anyone. It just specifically went on a vengeance against Victor Frankenstein because the creature wanted a companion. Victor Frankenstein refused to make him a companion. No, and the creature said, "Okay, if you can't make me a companion, I'm gonna kill everybody you love, so that you will feel just the way like I do, and I will be the only one left in your life." That is how the creature acted toward Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah, but we don't get any of that from this creature whatsoever. And in fact, this poor thing just gets left alone in the freezing cold underneath this castle for what seems like probably a year. I mean, it's sped up here just for the sake of storytelling, but you get the feeling it's been an entire year, and Victor doesn't feel like he's had any progress with the creature learning anything or doing anything, becomes increasingly frustrated with it, mistreats it. It doesn't have the ability to speak, obviously, because a year is not really long enough to learn human speech, period. The only thing it keeps saying is Victor, Victor, Victor. And this irritates him every time the creature says it. And so eventually he just leaves it downstairs and doesn't even interact with it anymore. And at one point now, his brother comes to visit him and he brings his wife with him. And so they come into the castle, they start talking to him. He does not want to talk about the creature or what he's done, doesn't allude to the fact that this thing is in the basement or anything like that. But Mia Goth's character starts searching the castle and finds it down in the basement, chained up. and immediately starts interacting with it. And even at this point, it's obvious that this creature has no malicious intent, doesn't know what violence is very curious, just like a toddler would be. And she immediately befriends it and tries to start trying to understand it. And I think she even gets it to say a different word than Victor. I think. I can't
Elizabeth,
remember,
her name.
but
She gets
she's enthralled.
no,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. She has this interaction with it, and then she goes up to where Victor is talking to his brother, and she's innocently pissed because she wants to know why you change up this guy down the basement, more or less. What the fuck is
Yeah.
wrong with you?
Yeah.
Huh? And then
Yeah.
yeah, and
rightfully so.
because she thinks that he's holding this poor guy down there in the basement. Then Victor Frankenstein
Yeah.
takes them both down and explains everything, that this is the creature he created. And his brother was like, oh shit, you did it. And they're having like this discussion where his brother,
Yeah.
William, is asking Victor, is it intelligent? What Victor does not give
Yeah.
any answer to or whatever. And a few times you see like Elizabeth actually interacting with this character, with the creature, being actually kind to
Yeah.
it, you know, because she sees that it's just a normal being that doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't have any intent in harming anybody. No. And then she tries to get it to say her name, but it doesn't. It only says Victor until she leaves the room. And once she leaves the room, you hear it, the creature, when she's gone, say her name, Elizabeth. No, exactly.
Right.
And this is the crazy thing, because this is the way usually children start talking. They start to say one or
Yeah.
two specific words that they hear all the time. Where is very often the case that a lot of kids, the first words they say is mama or papa, more or less, very often, because
Right.
that is a word that parents repeatedly say to their kids, however. But then there's something
Yeah.
interesting. I'm not sure, because I think his brother and his sister, his brother and his brother's wife, from Victor, they visit him multiple times over the castle. I'm not entirely sure where they're staying, but sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. And
Yeah.
then you also have scenes. The one scene where Victor has this interaction with the creature, where he's pissed because the creature is afraid of it. He starts hitting with the creature with a bar until the creature pulls the bar from him and bends it. This is like a steel bar
Yeah.
or whatever. No?
Yeah.
And this is like where Victor actually gets afraid and runs out the room. Yeah.
Yeah, this is basically where you realize that the creature has superhuman strength,
Yeah.
which I don't think he was expecting that at all.
No.
And it scares him. And so immediately he thinks, well, this thing is dangerous. Well, what did you expect if you start hitting it and hurting it? Did you expect it to just be okay with that? That's what bothers me about the whole thing. Like, you mistreat something. Of course, a dog is going to bite you back if you hit the dog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So now automatically he thinks this thing is dangerous and it's an abomination and he needs to get rid of it.
Yeah. Then this is also where you see that Victor Frankenstein for himself thinks that it failed, that this creature is not going to ever do anything intelligent or whatever. He goes up where his brother and his brother's wife, Mia, are. They have a short discussion. Victor has first two different discussions. He shows his brother the dead body of Heinrich. Of course, it was an accident. Heinrich being dead was not Victor's fault.
Mhm.
No? But he says, this is why you have to leave, because he has to get the body, whatever, get rid of it. No? Then shortly before or after that, Mia has a conversation with Victor, trying to convince Victor to be more kind to the creature or whatever, because Mia refers to it as he, and Victor repeatedly only refers to it as an it. That it's not a human, it's only an it or whatever. They have this argument going on because Victor Frank is like, it's stupid. It can't speak. It's not learning anything. The only thing it says is Victor. And then Mia is like, yeah, but that might mean the world to him. That to this creature at this point, you are its entire world. It knows nothing.
You're its god, basically. Yeah.
It knows nothing but you. You are his world.
Yeah.
That's why he's constantly repeating your name, because you are everything to this creature. Yeah. But Victor Frankenstein is at this point just a real fucking dick. He's a piece of shit, and he doesn't even want to recognize this thing as an actual being. Convinces his brother and his brother's wife to leave, and because obviously what he's going to do, he's going to burn down the castle. Yeah.
Yes.
And
which is interesting, because for all intents and purposes, he's succeeded. You know what I mean? He did exactly what he wanted to do. He's neglecting the fact that this thing does have the ability to learn, and it even proved to him that it did because it mentions the name Elizabeth in front of him. But instead of that being something where he's like, okay, it can learn, he gets upset with it and then sets the room on fire that it's in, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But whatever.
Yeah. He sets the castle on fire. While they're on their way leaving, Mia turns towards William and says, "Turn around. I know he's gonna kill it." Huh? And she pressures her husband to turn the cart around. What he does, and they go back eventually back to the castle. Victor Frankenstein, he puts, I guess this one, I don't know what fluid it is he used, some flammable fluid.
At this time, it would have been kerosene.
He used kerosene, covers it and everything, and then sets fire. Now, this is like when Victor Frankenstein, though, leaves the building, he hears the creature screaming. And this is where Victor Frankenstein, turns around and intends to go back into the castle, I guess freeing the creature, because it's like he realizes what he's done at this point. However, the castle explodes then. He hits something and breaks his leg.
Yeah, it basically takes his leg off. Yeah. Like the explosion, he's running back into the castle, which this is a cool scene and was a real explosion, which is also cool. Like nothing CGI here. He runs to the castle explodes, blowing him backwards into the courtyard, and his leg hits one of the pilings for the stairs leading up and basically just shatters his leg, like just destroys it. So that leg has to be amputated. But so he's maimed from this explosion. And his brother and his brother's wife are standing outside of the castle. They see this explosion and they see Victor laying in front of the castle. And they go retrieve him and pull him back to the carriage to get him out of the way of the debris that's falling. Right. And that's the end of that scene. The next thing we get is flash forward to the present. And Victor is still telling this story to the captain. And this is a scene that happens in the book, although in the book it happens a little bit later. The monster basically barges into the room and grabs the captain by the neck and is going to kill both of them. Like, this creature is going to kill both of them. The captain kind of looks up at the creature and says, wait, I've heard one side of your story from him, but I want to know the rest of the story. Please don't kill me. I want to know the rest of the story. Like, the captain is enthralled by this story, as I think anybody would be. That's enough for the creature to stop and not kill him, because I don't think there's ever been a point in this thing's life where anybody was interested in it, right? So he's enamored by this and is like, okay, at this point the creature can speak, and it says, okay, well, you've heard his story. I'm going to tell you my side of the story. So the creature sits and starts his part of the story. So from this part forward in the story, this is the monster telling the rest of it. And this is arguably the more interesting story. Yeah. So the creature starts its part of the story from that part where the castle exploded. It explains that the castle caught fire, it broke out of its chains and jumped out of the castle down there at the water outlet that goes into the Rhine River. Yeah. He jumps out, goes into the river, and survives the explosion. And it shows the full explosion of the castle, Mike. God damn, this thing went up like a fucking tinderbox, man. There's nothing left of that fucking castle. I doubt there'd be anything left of it. Actually, if that's what happened, then we wouldn't actually have a Frankenstein castle ruin like we have right now in Germany. The creature ends up in the water and eventually washes to shore and wakes up on the shore, looking back at the castle that is still burning. Immediately realizes it's alive and retreats into the woods to try to find something to put on because it's probably freezing. When he gets into the woods, this is another thing that pisses me off because it shows how awful humans are. The first thing that the creature comes in contact with is this deer, like a really beautiful deer. And the deer is eating berries, and the monster is obviously starving too. And instead of running away from the creature or being scared of it, the deer stands there and actually motions to the berries that it's eating, telling the creature, hey, you can eat these. And so the monster takes the berries from the bush and starts eating the berries and feeds the berries to the deer as well, showing that animals treat this thing like a normal human being, but humans don't treat it like a normal human being. And of course, as he's feeding the deer gets shot in the head from a distance by some hunters, showing again that humans are just fucking assholes. The humans that shoot the deer also see him and immediately think he's a monster because of the way that he looks, which I think I would think the same thing. But again, the creature doesn't show any malicious intent or anything like that. It's just standing there. And these guys shoot it in the face. So this is the first time that he is physically attacked by other human beings. He takes a shot right in the eye. And this is where we get the look that we've seen him have for the first part of the movie, where this eye is basically a dead eye. Why that one didn't heal, I don't know, but because later we're shown that everything heals, but whatever. And he runs off, obviously. This is the German wilderness somewhere. I'm going to say probably Odenwald, right?
Yeah, it looks like
I would assume.
it looks like the Odenwald.
Odenwald Forest. He's running away and he takes shelter in a cabin in the woods, like a house, a cabin in the woods back in the, what would you call this area that he hides in? It's like a loft where they would put animals.
Yeah, a farm. It's a loft where you have like a wind, no, where they used to grind grain.
A mill. Yeah, a mill. Yeah. So he hides in there, and the guys that shot him actually live in this house, right? So he's hiding. They come back to the house and they tell what they saw to everybody that's in the house. There's a whole family that lives here. There's kids, there's a wife, there's the men, and there's this older gentleman who is blind, right? And this is one of the biggest parts of the story from the book. This is where we kind of get to see the humanity of the creature and what would have happened if Victor Frankenstein had actually taken the time to teach the creature and nurture its human instincts. So the guys that are the hunters eventually leave this house again to go hunt some more, and they leave him there with the old man. Also, during the time that he's been hiding in this loft, in this mill area, he's been doing things for the family. The family are obviously hunter-gatherers. They need wood. They need, they need to eat, stuff like that. He goes out into the woods and gets these things for the family and sets them up as gifts, basically. So the creature, instead of showing malicious intent or violence, it's actually quite the opposite. His nature is to nurture and be kind, which makes this even worse.
Yeah.
Because he does nice things for the family. The family notices it. They think that it's the forest spirit that's doing it, because these are obviously, I don't know if you would call these guys Christian. They kind of appear more
They're
like
pagans. They're more pagans, yeah.
Pagans, yeah. And so they think that these gifts that are being brought to them and put on their doorstep are from the forest spirit, and that's what they keep saying. They rejoice the forest spirit. Thank you, forest spirit. All this stuff. The monster, the creature, thinks basically that he is also the forest spirit. Like he's taking this as a thanks to him that he's doing these things.
It also shows that it even says that the creature says that they often leave food and clothes for him in front of the door. So yeah.
So there's a bit of a relationship that's going on between him and the family, even though they don't ever see him. And so he takes this as a human kindness. He says, there's even a part of this where he says, if you do nice things for people, they do nice things for you. And he felt like this is actually what humans are about, because he definitely didn't get to see that from Victor. Right. Eventually, family get attacked by wolves while he's hiding. And he understands that the wolves are only attacking because they're hungry and they need something to eat. And instead, he thinks, why are these people not feeding the wolves then if they're hungry? And that's why they're attacking. Instead, they shoot the wolves and kill them all. And this is where he understands, okay, human nature, their reaction to something needing something is to kill it. And this is where he understands that humans, when driven, will kill, right? And that's the first realization that he has. And it's not a good one. So he doesn't want to do things that are going to get him killed. He's scared of people still at this point because of what they do to the wolves. When the rest of the family leave to go hunting, they leave the blind man at the house by himself. And so the creature finally gets up the courage to step out of the shadows and try to introduce himself to this blind man. He does that and things go really well. The blind man says, I can tell that you're a kind soul, that you don't want to hurt anybody, and that you need help. And so this is the first communication that this creature is having with anyone. By the way, at this point, this is where the creature starts to look more like a normal human. He's like got long hair. His face generally starts to look healthier. And I think that's probably because he's eating and he's starting to regenerate a little bit, because this thing has regenerative capabilities. And the old man starts to teach him how to read and how to talk. And you get the feeling that this whole time probably lasts a good year, I would assume.
No, only a season, because they leave him to.
Yeah,
They
okay.
said they'll be back at the end of the winter. No, and this is like pretty much during, I think, fall or whatever. So it is
Yeah.
a few months. He's alone with this old man.
Yeah. Yeah. And so during that time, he learns how to read. He learns human speech. He learns everything that is positive about human beings and kindness and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So now basically he's a normal human, right? Like he understands humans. The only problem is he only understands the good parts. So he's sleeping one night and the family comes back and the wolves attack again. And the wolves kill the old man. Well, he's not dead yet, but they attack the old man, basically making him bleed out, and he saves the old man from the wolves as best he can. He kills the wolves and then stays with the old man as he dies, and the old man dies in his arms, and this is the first time that you see sorrow from the creature because he cries when the old man dies. At exactly that time, the family comes back. They walk into the house and they see this gigantic 6-foot something monster standing over the dead body of this old man and automatically think that he's the one who's killed the old man. So, of course,
Obviously,
they open fire on the creature.
anybody probably would think
Yeah.
that at this moment. Yeah.
Yeah. They open fire on the creature, and this is where the creature shows its first sign of violence, really.
Yeah. Actually, they shoot at him, and the one guy walks up and he sticks this one hook into the creature, and the creature just pulls his jaw off. But the other two are totally fucking freaked out, and the creature just walks out the door. He just walks by them because he only attacked the guy that stabbed him. Then he walks out trying to leave the farm until he falls over out of pain or whatever because he takes out the hook, and then they shoot him, and he falls dead.
They shoot him dead. Yeah. Yeah. He falls down right at the gate.
He dies, yeah.
And they just basically leave the body there. Yeah. They leave the body there thinking he's dead, which he's not. And this doesn't happen in the book. So there's not a time in the book where he gets shot down dead, regenerates, and stands back up later. But it feels like there's a couple of days that go by where the body's just laying there. And all of a sudden he wakes back up and he says, I felt breath in my lungs again. And I looked at my wounds and my wounds were healed. So the wounds that he had on his body from the shotgun blast and the hook that was stabbed in him are all healed up now. So this is where he realizes I'm basically immortal and can't die, which is kind of cool. And then decides for whatever reason to go looking for Victor. I can't remember what made him do that.
Because
do you
he
remember?
wanted a companion. Because this
right.
is the point where the creature realizes he's not like humans, that he's not human, just like you said, because he can't die. And the creature also has no idea how long he's going to live. He also realizes that a lot of humanities might not going to accept him for whatever he is. And he goes to Victor Frankenstein because he wants a companion, because he doesn't want to be alone for the rest of eternity, because it doesn't know how long it'll live. And the creature at this point pretty much assumes that it's immortal and doesn't want to spend eternity alone.
So he backtracks back to the castle, right? So he backtracks back to the castle where he was created and realizes it's a ruin, and kind of remembers that it got blown up, but he starts searching the rubble for things that'll give him clues as to where Victor is. And he finds Victor's journal with all of the pictures of what he did to create him. So at this point, he realizes how he was made as well. He realizes that he's kind of an amalgamation of different dead bodies and that he's not human, that he's created. And this is kind of a harsh realization for him. And he's a little bit sorrowful about it. But then he finds amongst all of the rubble with Victor Frankenstein's address on it and says, okay, I have his address. I'm going to go find him. And so that's what he does. The creature's now on a pilgrimage to go find him because he wants a mate. Let's see. I can't remember. I think there's a wedding going on, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it the wedding of his brother and his fiance?
Estate. Yeah. I think it's probably a wedding or something going on. I'm not entirely sure. But
I think it's the wedding between his brother and his wife.
It's it's back. You see the creature in front of a tree at the Frankenstein estate, pretty much with the wedding going on and whatever. No.
Yeah.
This is a short.
Which was a pretty damn long walk because that's in France.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it probably took some time. I mean, whenever this thing realized this wasn't the winter. That, and you can see clearly when he's at the Frankenstein estate that there's no snow around. So that kind of is, you can probably assume quite some time goes by before he goes to because he arrives at the estate of the Frankensteins. Yeah.
So the creature arrives at the time of the wedding between Victor Frankenstein's brother and his fiance. And he basically just shows up. He just walks into the bedchamber of
Victor
of the
Frank.
wife.
No,
Or
no,
actually,
not the wife.
Victor. Victor, yeah, he walks into.
You see a short interaction that Victor has with his brother and everything and his wife, because Victor walks
Yeah.
up and says like, yeah, I just wanted to talk to the bride or whatever before thing. And this is clearly where you can see that Mia does not want to have much to do with Victor Frankenstein anymore. She
Right.
does not really like him specifically for what he done as a creature, what I assume. And then he goes off into his bed chambers. And it happens what you said. The monster just goes into Frankenstein's bed chambers.
Goes into the bed chambers, confronts him, and this is another part where I'm completely bothered by Victor Frankenstein and what a fucking idiot this guy is. Like, this thing shows up, has the ability to speak, has feelings, and is, for all intents and purposes, a very lonely human being, and is able to articulate that and says, I can't die. You gave me life, but you did not give me the ability to die, and that's on you. So if I have to live, then I would like to have a companion. And if you made me, you can make me a companion. What does Victor do? He treats this thing like shit again, telling it that it's an abomination and that it's not human and that it should not, be allowed to have the things that normal human beings have, and that he's not going to create a partner for it. Which, why? I don't understand his logic here at all.
I mean,
this is a
the
real
logic-
dick move.
I mean, Victor Frankenstein's logic is that Victor Frankenstein realized that what he did was basically playing God. And from his point of view, his experiment failed. He says, I'm not doing it again. I'm not going to create another abomination like you. I think that's what he literally says.
That's what he says.
This is what makes the creature flip out. The creature says like, yeah, well, basically this scene itself is brilliantly done, like in the books, because the creature at this point
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Victor Frankenstein throws him through the room multiple times, but this is funny, but very interesting in a way that it does not injure him. So this is like where the creature is clearly like, okay, now if you're not going to make me a companion, I'm going to make your life a living hell. He throws him to the room, beats him up with force that's brilliantly done by the creature. So the creature at this point already knows his power and his strength, because he specifically only hurts Victor Frankenstein, not killing him. No, of course, this is heard by everyone. And Mia,
you got a whole house full of people.
Everybody hearing what's going on now. Until you have like Mia running into Victor's room, instantly seeing the creature.
Yeah.
This is what calms the creature down, because Mia walks up to them, they hug or whatever. And there's like, you actually made it here, because Mia's actually happy that it's still alive. Until Victor Frankenstein, being a total fucking dick, grabs a gun, shoots at the creature.
And hits Mia instead of the monster.
Mia jumps in front of the creature.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, this is in the...
So...
Then you have like multiple people coming into the room trying to stop the creature, and it's obviously nobody's going to stop this fucking thing.
No, he's just throwing everybody around like a bunch of rag dolls.
Yeah. Then also William tries to grab his wife. The creature at this point doesn't know who William is and throws William through the room. William hits it on a sharp corner and is dead, pretty much.
Dead as a doornail, yeah.
Yeah, this is
which that's also completely different than the book, because at this point in the book, the creature decided he was going to kill everyone that meant anything to Victor Frankenstein, because he wouldn't create him a bride. So he kills the brother out of anger, kills a bunch of people at the castle out of anger, and then basically the woman who gets killed here was not in the book. Mia's character was actually the wife of Victor Frankenstein, but in this story, she's the wife of the brother.
Yeah, exactly.
And instead of killing her out of anger, he realizes she's dying, picks up her body, and takes her into the woods with him. He takes her into like a cave and lays her down, and she's dying, but he's talking to her, and they have a discussion about what is love, what's human, all this other stuff. He gets another basic understanding of what humans are from her as she's dying, and then she dies. And this is where the monster decides that it is going to hunt Victor Frankenstein down and murder him. This is like his intent now. And he gives him a running start, too, because Victor tracks the monster to this cave where she's died. And the monster basically says, okay, I'm going to hunt you down. But he gives him a head start, I think, right? He says something like, I forget exactly what he says.
First breaks his nose, and then the creature just fucks off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And leaves Victor Frankenstein there alone. And this is pretty much the point where actor Victor Frankenstein decides to hunt down the creature, but the creature decides to hunt down Frankenstein. And this is pretty much where the creature is now playing with Frankenstein. He's pretty much letting Victor Frankenstein think that Victor Frankenstein is hunting it, but he waits until Victor Frankenstein finds him and then hurts him and then injures him in some kind of way.
Yeah.
This is basically the same thing happens in the movie as it does in the book. It's just the creature in the books went after everyone Victor Frankenstein cared about because, just like I said, it was like out of vengeance. If you're not going to create a companion for me, I'll kill everybody you love. I will destroy everything you have in life so that I'm the only thing you have left. But you can say to a certain degree is not necessarily vengeance. That's a very sick cry for help and a sick cry for love, more or less. Yeah. And what basically the movie does differently, it does not take. Yes, the creature kills everybody Victor Frankenstein cares about, but it's more an accident than actually that the creature intended any of it to happen. And then you see the part where Victor Frankenstein is now hunting down the creature through these cold lands and wherever this is, I think the Antarctic or whatever, and where he's like,
this is the Arctic,
Antarctic. And then he's buying ammunition and everything. And what are you hunting down? And he's like, something big. And then you see Victor This is shortly before the people at the ship notice the fire in the area because this is where Victor is at his camp and it gets killed by the monster again. No, not killed, injured. No, sorry. Also, brilliant. This is a brilliant scene, by the way. I love this scene also because
I love this. I love this. I've been waiting to get to this part just because of how badass it is.
Yeah, it's brilliant because it's like the creature pulls Victor out of his tent by the leg. I think throws him a bit somewhere again. And is like, Victor, why do you only listen when I hurt you? And I think breaks his other leg.
Yeah.
Or something like that. While Victor Frankenstein
he does. He breaks his other leg, so he's not able.
Yeah, and this is a great scene, by the way, because he has like,
love this.
You have dynamite. You want to blow me up? The creature's like, well, let's just see if this works. Takes the dynamite, turns it on, looks at Victor Frankenstein. He's like, now run.
What he says is he takes the dynamite because he knows what it is. And he says, okay, like you said, let's see if this works. But if it doesn't, I'm going to murder you. Right. And then he lights the dynamite, holds it to his chest, like you said. And then he goes, run. Dude, this scene is awesome. It's so cool. And it wasn't in the book, but holy shit, it's really effective here. And what you see is the creature standing on the ice with this dynamite clutched to his chest. And then this gigantic fucking explosion that cracks the ice around it. And you're sure that this creature is dead, dude. Like, you're like, that had to have killed it. Right. But instead, he's just standing there after the smoke clears with his hand still clutched to his chest. His clothes are on fire, and it didn't do shit to the creature. So this thing is completely unstoppable, no matter what you think.
Okay, and this pretty much leads up to the people finding him on the ship. And basically leads up, then the story goes back, of course, to now the creature, Victor Frankenstein, and the captain, basically, or the creature basically ending his story. This is also the scene. This is, I think, one of my favorite scenes in the movie. What is also, it's altered, not exactly the way it was in the book. I don't actually remember how the creature and Victor Frankenstein left things end in the book. I don't remember. No.
It's about the same. So they, after he's done telling his story, Victor understands where he fucked up and understands that he made a huge mistake and basically says, I'm sorry, and dies. And the creature basically calls him father.
Yeah, this is also things where the creature calls Victor father, where it's also, what makes it really hard touching is the way it plays out, because Victor realizes after hearing the story of the creature, like you said, everything that he's did wrong. And also, I think what also means a lot to the creature is that Victor takes the creature's hand, knowing that he's going to die, and says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything I've done. I'm sorry that because of me, you cannot die. And he also says, if you can't die, then just please live and enjoy life, my son.
Yeah.
And this, you can see it, and this is the creature eyes, and this means a lot to the creature. And his last words, he says, for just one more time, can you say my name? Or give me my name, Victor Frankenstein, was given to me by my father. But can you say it one last time when you said it, when it meant everything to you? And then the creature says, Victor, the way it did when it was created.
The way he did when he was born,
And Victor Frankenstein begs for forgiveness from the creature. And then the last words from the creature is, "I forgive you, Father."
Yep.
And then Victor Frankenstein
Yep.
dies.
It's extremely well done. That whole scene right there, like, I don't know, there's very few movies, especially horror, where you get kind of a tear in your eye, but this is done so well that I was like, shit, it's just that, it's that well done. Del Toro knows how to write the shit out of a movie and get people to like feel something. So for that reason alone, this movie was freaking amazing. Anyway, so Victor dies. The monster opens the door to leave the ship. The captain, the men that are standing outside that are left want to shoot the creature, but the captain is like, no, let him go. And so the creature walks down the side of the ship, gets back down on the ice, and then one last time grabs the ship and pushes it back out to sea. This gigantic fucking ship. I love it.
No, the captain says, yeah, we're going home. Did the creature walk out basically to where Victor Frankenstein's camp was, the sun going back up, and him just staring into the sun. And that's where the story ends.
Yeah. By far, overall and in large, in terms of special effects, in terms of story, in terms of acting, in terms of betrayal and sticking to the story, this is the best version of Frankenstein I've ever seen.
Me too. Absolutely. I should say the only thing where I did not really like that much were the CGI animals, specifically the deer and the CGI wolves. Yeah, that was it. I mean, everything else you said that, it's not the right castle. It's not the right place. Who cares? It's that. I mean,
that stuff's all forgivable. It's just for us, it's a little bit of a letdown. But I mean,
even
whatever.
That's nitpicking at that point. Other than that, in my opinion, I do think this movie is a masterpiece when it comes to horror.
Yeah,
it is
absolutely
the best adaptation of Frankenstein that has ever been done. Literally, it's brilliant. Yeah,
by far. And again, I can't overstate it. This would be one of those, and I don't know how often they do this. I know they've done it with a few other movies on Netflix where they've released it in the theaters, but this would be one where, okay, it was on Netflix, but release it into the theaters anyway.
They should have.
Let people see it on the big screen because this was so well done. The cinematography here is just mind-blowing how well this is done. And because of this movie alone, I thought so before, if Del Toro wants to do a movie, if he's vocal enough about it, let him do the fucking movie. Let him do it because there hasn't been anything he's done that's been bad. Also on that subject, Mike, they just announced that he's going to do his third movie in the series of Hellboy. Do you hear about that?
I've heard about it, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so fucking happy about that because they left that trilogy hanging at the second movie and he was never greenlit for the third one, but now he's doing it. And his exact words are, I didn't think I was going to get to do this movie. I had really good plans for it before, but now that they're going to let me do it, this movie is going to be fucking amazing. Like he's going to go overboard with it. And I'm excited as shit, especially after this.
Yeah. I mean, the Hellboy, I think it could be, let's see how Hellboy 3 turns out. I mean, this movie is brilliant. I mean, he's a brilliant director. And just say, this is for me, the, how should I say it? The Frankenstein movie. This is for me, I would say, for me from now on, this is the default Frankenstein.
Yes, just like the Bram Stoker's Dracula that we just did recently. That is the Dracula film. This is the Frankenstein.
It's the default Frankenstein movie. It's the best adaptation that has ever been done, ever.
Yeah.
Period of the book.
Yeah.
And
if you guys are watching this and you've wanted to see a good version of Frankenstein, just go watch this.
Exactly.
Just go watch.
Just watch. And just like even the creature in the movies, the way it was portrayed, what we know as Frankenstein, is they made it to look like this disgusting monster that nobody wants to look at. Well, even though, my God, it's been a very, very long time since I read the book. Victor Frankenstein specifically took perfect body parts that he thought were perfect from different people because he wanted to create this being. And if you actually go by that, how it was described in the book, I never really had like this hideous, deformed creature in my mind when thinking about the creature. Specifically,
right.
To me, it always felt like this perfect sculpture that was, and that is what I say to me also, the monster you see, the creature in this movie, from what I remember, is also the most accurate to the actual Frankenstein monster from the book.
Yes, that's also true. Yeah, it wouldn't have looked like a disgusting monster like they portrayed it. It would have been a near perfect looking being. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Best version of the monster yet. A bit too pretty for my taste.
Yeah,
Like I said before, but I mean, I also understand that angle and why they do that, but it's not enough to take me out of it.
Yeah.
It was really well done. And the actor himself did a fucking fantastic job.
Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, all actors in this movie are great. And one thing I can say, Oscar Isaac from that actor. I mean, for me, I think from this point on, probably going to keep him in mind as the actor that reminds me of the bad Star Wars trilogy. I think from
he kind of redeemed himself here.
I mean, I think every time I see this actor, I'm going to think of Victor Frankenstein because he brilliantly played this role. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean,
So good job, Oscar Isaac, of saving your career from only being known as Poe Dameron.
Yeah, and this is I mean, props for that. I mean, I have to be honest, I do think that Oscar Isaac and the actor who plays the creature, they should get, I don't know, in my opinion, every award that is imaginable. I think
they just might. I think this movie is going to go up for some awards. It's going to have to.
Yeah.
But okay, you got anything else you want to say about this movie? And I'm not sure which movie we're doing next. Do you know?
No, I have to look into it. I'm not sure what movie we're doing next, but.
Okay, so it'll be a surprise for anybody who's a normal follower.
Because it's chart.
It's okay. It's okay. It'll be a surprise for the next episode. Okay?
Yeah.
That pretty much covers it. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out next week for the mystery movie because we didn't tell you what it was this time. Yeah. This might be the first time we've done that. But anyway, until then, I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
And we'll see you guys next time.
I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
The blackest dies. The darkest dies. Simply